What's up, everybody? This is Joe Giunta with Team Take Profits. I'm here to help you trade and get paid. Now, look, this intro might be a little bit longer because it's been a little while since I've, put out a video. I just want to kind of catch you up. I've had a lot going on in my life. Some of you may know, since you follow me on social media, that we recently had a loss in our family. I lost my sister, and to a drunk driver. And I just want to kind of tell everybody out there, man, if you're drinking, don't be driving. It's caused my family a lot of pain, a lot of heartache. It was very unnecessary. So if you do drink, please don't be out there driving. All right, that's just a little plug. But other than that, I will tell you this: Forex has been absolutely amazing. It's allowed me the opportunity in the last few months to actually take some of my Forex investment and invest in another business as well. And it's all about diversification. We're diversifying our incomes. So we actually did a lot of real estate investing, and that's been awesome, but it has taken a little bit of my attention. So I apologize I haven't put out a video in a while, but that's kind of where I've been. We're actually going to be doing some videos on that here coming soon, but for now, I just want to kind of tell you that's where I've been. In today's video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting a new series for the next couple of weeks, letting you guys know. I announced it on the channel a little while back, and it is going to be the Forex Fashion series. We're going to be identifying trends in the market. So for today's video, it is going to be an actual training where you're going to see me training and teaching on how to identify a trend in the market. So let's get to that. But before we do, I want to say one more thing. Thank you, guys. We're over 8,000 subs now on YouTube. We're pushing closer to that 10,000 sub goal. Thank you guys for your support on the channel, all the likes, the comments, the shares, and most of all for just watching and supporting the channel. So let's get to Forex Fashion. I'll see you on the charts. I'm going to teach you today about how to identify proper trends in the market. You know what I mean? And we're going to take a look at the trade we looked at last week and kind of see how that played out, so we can look at, how did I know? How do we identify that? That's basically, we want to know how to find proper setups in the market. When we look at the market, we want to find, at the end of the day, when the rubber meets the road, we just want to find a proper trade setup. Okay. Now all this other stuff we talk about, trends and support and resistance, and market structure and indicators and all these different things we talk about, price action, those things all just basically are things that point me down to finding proper trade setups. So now let's work backwards. Okay, we found a proper trade setup. Now how did we identify that? So we kind of take those steps backwards. We'll be able to see what it was that caused us to want to get into that trade in the first place, right? Okay. So let's take a look at that. I'm gonna share my screen. And let's take a look at these charts. All right, so I'm gonna zoom this all the way in. And actually, you know what? Let me start right here like this, and then I'm gonna show you. Basically, this is what we saw last week. We saw this falling wedge pattern. And now, according to my strategy that I posted on YouTube, the moving average crossover strategy, right as it broke out of my wedge, you can see where we had the crossover. Literally, remember when I was telling you how to cross over here? We didn't want to take that because it was too far away. Mm-hmm. Too far away. And notice how it was getting closer to that top wedge every time. Mm-hmm. And when it finally broke out, it crossed over, and we knew, okay, it's proper time. And then look, boom, you know what I mean? And then we knew it was officially out of the zone of being able to kind of come out and come back in, come out. We knew once we had that bullish candle there, we knew it was a wrap. It was time to take off, right? And remember, we talked about, we don't know, is it going to break out to the bottom or the up, or to the top? Most likely to the top, because of, number one, the pattern. This is a falling wedge. Number two, the fact that we're so close here to a support line that we don't think, it would take a lot to break through that. Number three, the fact that we have so much room going up and it just we had a lot of confirmations based on trend, based on support and resistance, based on even indicators, and finally we got the breakout we were looking for. And just to show you here why this was such a good setup, if we got in here, our total risk was a little over 100 pips. Our total reward was 378 pips. So we had literally a 1 to 3 setup there, and we knew that ahead of time. So it wasn't like this is guesswork. We knew that ahead of time. And now we got another move coming, because when we look at it this way, remember, that's the next major zone all the way up here. When we come from down here, now it could turn around right here, and it can turn around anywhere in between here. I'm never going to tell you it cannot turn around anywhere in between support and resistance. You know, it can't. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that we have probability. Everything in Forex is a game of probability, right? So once we break this support, this resistance line, this resistance becomes support, and the next major zone we have is all the way up here. We're talking another 500 pips, you know? So we're talking about a pretty big move that we have potentially identified. Again, the key word is potentially. Now we got some other things to look at before we can just off of that say, here's the next move, 500 pips, get in. There's some other things that we got to look at, right? Okay. So I'm going to kind of just talk to you a little bit and show you how did we identify that, right? So I was talking to you, and I told you we're going to be talking about like Forex fashion, all right? Kind of like the topic. You're from New York, man, right? So you know about some fashion a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, listen, these cats out here be wearing all kinds of stuff, man. And basically, here's the crazy thing about fashion. Most of the time, it's very rare that that a new trend comes out. It's generally almost always an old trend that's being resurrected, right? You know, I seen, you know, the bell bottoms coming back, and you know what I'm saying, like all these kind of things, you know, these weird colors, and remember when I was a kid, they were wearing the jackets with the patches on them. You know what I mean? Now patches are coming back. You know what I mean? All these different things like that. It's not a new trend that is happening. It's really an old trend that's being revisited, right? Well, it's the same thing in Forex. We're not setting new trends. We're just revisiting old trends. We're revisiting old zones, you know? It's very rare that in Forex that the market turns around and starts a new trend in a spot that it's never done it before. It generally doesn't happen that way. It generally doesn't happen where a trend starts where a trend has never started before. Does that make sense?
Right.
We want to understand that, because now when we look back at the markets, we see that if we're looking for a turnaround in the market, if we're looking for a trend to begin, we're generally going to be looking where trends have always began. We're not looking for a new zone. It's not like in the middle of a zone somewhere that there's high probability of a new trend starting. It's generally that the market is revisiting an old trend. Does that make sense?
Yep.
You know, and here's the other thing, like, you know, I'm kind of glad that when you look at trends, you know, and I'm totally not like the super fashion police or nothing, but, you know, when we look at trends, like, I'm glad some trends don't stick around. You know what I mean? These cats out here wearing rompers and, you know what I mean, and all this kind of stuff. I'm just glad that stuff don't stick around long, you know? That would be kind of like what I would consider like a counter trend. You know what I mean? It's like it's something that comes out and it looks like a trend, but it's kind of like when I told you last week. Remember, you got to zoom out and see the whole picture.
Right.
Just because this looks like a downtrend, right? Look at my screen right here. This looks like it's a downtrend. Albeit a sideways moving downtrend, but that looks like a downtrend to me. But when I look at the whole picture, I realize that this is just a pullback on an overall bigger uptrend, right? So this might be a trend in and of itself, but I know that it's going to be short-lived because the overall trend says I'm going up.
Okay.
So That's called a counter trend. That's when you have a pullback in the market. That's when it's like, all right, I'm going to test this out, but it's really not real. It was generally started either through bank manipulation or for the banks to be able to pull back, sell off, and rebuy their currency at a lower rate for them to make money.
Okay.
And so some trends aren't there to stick around, right? And last but not least, when talking about like the fashion side of it, the illustration there is, when we first see somebody, kind of wearing whatever the trend is, you know what I mean? We're kind of like, oh man, they kind of look silly, don't they? It hasn't caught on, right? So we're kind of like, man, they look silly.
Right.
That's kind of silly. What in the world are they doing? What are they wearing? How have they got their hair? Whatever. This is kind of crazy. But then you get some big player, right? You get some like football player or something like that they get on the after the game and they rock that style and everybody's like, oh, look at him, and now suddenly it catches on. Look, it's the same thing in Forex. See, many traders, retail traders, lose because they wait for the big players to get in on the trend. They wait for the trend to already be in motion in order to get in. See, in Forex, it's much like, in building your own, fashion, I guess you could say, persona, in that if you're going to be a trend setter, then you have to take risks, right? You have to understand that you are not going to be doing everything that the crowd is doing. You're going to be doing things ahead of time. You're going to be doing things before. You're going to have to identify things before they happen, right? You got to be up on some things. And it's the same way in Forex. If I wait for the banks to get into their move before I mess with it, like look at this move right here. If the banks got in, this was what this big candle right here. This is where the banks got in, right? Because this is where big money got into this. Now, if I waited till after that happened, I waited till all the way up here. Now I just missed out on a whole bunch of pips. I can't wait till I'm all the way. Now I get in because I had a big candle. Now guess what? I'm moving sideways. I'm eating drawdown. Doubt is in my mind. Maybe I missed it. Oh, this is over. This was a fake out. And then it actually comes back again. But I don't want to eat all this. This is not where I want to find my entry. You see what I'm saying? Because this is what happens when I wait for the big player to get in. This is after Cam Newton gets up and wears something. You know what I mean? Right. This is after, LeBron comes into the after the game to do his post game, and he's wearing some kind of shirt, and now I say, oh, now I want to wear it. And this is what I end up eating because everybody's doing it. Everybody's in that thing, and everybody's, trying to determine whether this is a style or not, right? So now you got buyers and sellers. You got the buyers saying, oh, look at that move, let's get in. Then you got the seller saying, well, hey, let's push this back down so I can get more money out of it. And there's indecision in the market. We don't want to get in after. We want to get in before. So we're not waiting for the big player to tell us. We're identifying where the big player is what they're gonna wear before the post game. We got the inside scoop. It's like we're talking to LeBron before in pregame. Hey, if you win tonight, what are you gonna wear at the post game? Oh, I'm gonna wear an Anishi shirt. All right, cool. Let me get in on this Anishi shirt. I'm gonna wear it. I was wearing that before LeBron was wearing it, right? And so that's what we're doing with the banks. We're looking at previous trends because new trends rarely happen. We're looking at previous trends to identify what is the high probability of the next trend. And then we're coming out rocking that thing before the banks do, right? And so now we catch that momentum of the bank, and by the time the drawdown comes and indecision comes, we're already in profit. So we've already moved our stop loss into profit. And so at this point, we are protecting our downside. We caught the beginning of the trend, and even if this thing turns around, we're in profit. That's what happens when we don't want to just chase the big player, but we want to, understand that trends are never, or I can't say never, but rarely a brand new thing, right? we're identifying the fact that most trends are just old trends that have been brought back to life. Does that make sense?
Right.
All right. So now, with that being said, let's take a look at this. When we look at the small picture of this, in fact, I talked about this last week when we were training. When we're looking at the overall market, again, when we look at just this, when I zoom in, I see a downtrend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not talking about this. This is after the fact. I'm talking about this. When I'm here, when I was right here,
right,
I was looking at this saying, look, this is a downtrend, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I knew better because I said, we got to look at the whole picture. And when I see the whole picture, I see it's actually an uptrend. And this is just a pullback to before a continuation. That's called Elliott wave,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this is just a pullback before another continuation. This is probably a D right here on an Elliott wave.
Okay.
So when I really want to zoom out and take a better look at it, we can go to the bigger chart. We can go to the daily, right? And then when we look at the daily, now let's take a look at what this thing is doing. Now we can see that little tiny wedge. We thought that was a downtrend. We thought that was a down. Man, we got caught up in the we got caught up in the rompers. You know what I mean? We got caught up in rocking a mullet or something. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy. That wasn't a trend. There was a lot of movement in here. You got double tops. You got all kind of things going on. But overall, we got a market that's moving upward, and we have a pullback. This little tiny thing is what we thought was a major trend. It wasn't. This is just a pullback before it continues up, right? And when we look at that in the overall market, now you see these lines I got in here?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the cool thing. I marked these lines like over a year ago.
Wow.
And I never moved. Like, in fact, they're locked, right? You can't even move them. I locked them into, they're locked. So just so you know how to do that, you go to your line, and if you're on Apple, you click on it, right click like this, and you can lock or unlock it. If you're on like a Windows, you just right click and it allows you to lock or unlock. And so you can put your markings on the chart. And if we look back, they don't have to move. The market has continually respected these areas. What was a support, broke through, became a resistance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Simple market structure. That same line from back there, it's still a resistance here. And once it broke, it pulled back, and there it was a support. There's a resistance, came down, boom, more resistance. What used to be a resistance became a support. And now, again, each line becomes a new level, right? Comes down again, comes back up. Each time we see these things, the market respects these zones for years. So we don't, I hear a lot of cats out here talking about like, I got to go mark up my charts. I mean, for what? Why? If you're marking up your charts right now, you ain't even thinking about a trade.
Mm.
Does that make sense? When you're marking up your charts, you shouldn't even be thinking about a trade. Where do I find a trade setup? Let me go mark up my charts. No, you're working way out of order. If you haven't marked up your charts and seen the charts test your markings, you shouldn't even be thinking about trading that thing. Because your marks should already be set. Now I understand dropping a little trend line to see the falling wedges and the patterns. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about if you're going in now to start identifying your major zones, you shouldn't even be thinking about getting in a trade yet. You got to identify those zones. You got to make sure that they go back and that those zones are tried and true. You know what I mean? Because that's going to help you identify the fake zones, right? When I know that, when I know good and well, and I kind of just being silly, I'm using this rompers thing, but if I know good and well, rompers ain't here to stay. You know what I mean? Right. I know good and well. So for me to buy into that, I'm stupid because I have no proof of that. That trend has never been around before. It's not something that's got any real validity to it. Ain't nobody going to keep rocking those things forever. You know what I mean? Come on. That stuff ain't here to stay. So why am I going to buy into that? You know? But now when I see something that every 10 years it comes around, every 10 years, listen, in fall, women are going to wear fall colors every single year in fall. That's a trend. I know when fall time is coming, get the Thanksgiving colors out, get the earth tones out, get the orange, the orangish, the browns, get those colors out because I know fall is coming. These women are going to be wearing that in the fall. That is a tried and true trend that I know ain't going anywhere. I could buy into that. August comes around, I'm like, okay, she gonna want to go shopping. We're gonna go buy some fall colors for the house. We're gonna go buy some different decorations for the house that look fall, I know good and well that fall is a short-lived season because winter's coming. And we don't want to wear brown and orange in the winter. We know that it's snowing. You know what I mean? We know that in my house, the Thanksgiving, the little Thanksgiving things we set around the fireplace and stuff, they're only going to be there for about a month. Mm-hmm. That's tried and true because December's coming and it's Christmas time. Mm-hmm. That I know is tried and true. That's something that happens every single year. That ain't something that somebody just made up and said, hey, let's try this out. This isn't just some new thing that people are just trying out, So I know that when I look at trends, I'm trying to look at what is a tried and true trend. Look, all this stuff in here, you say, well, what about this? It didn't turn around on a resistance line. That's fine and good. That's like the one time in, this little zone right here, you hit it twice. That's the 2 times in a long time, sure. This little area, yeah, there's going to be some pullbacks within the zone, from zone to zone. I get that. But what I'm saying is that's not tried and true, right? That's not a high probability. I don't want to sell right here when I know that this thing could go right here. I'm looking for tried and true trends, right? I'm looking for something that I know good and well. This boy happens almost every time that it hits this line, it turns around. That's what I'm looking for. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
I'm trying to find something that I know is going to treat me right. If I invest into Christmas decorations, I know that, hey, it might be slow in the summer. You know what I mean? I might not sell a lot during the summer, but when December comes, I'm going to make my money. One last little illustration on that. What is this? We're in November, right?
Yep.
You go to Walmart. Man, they didn't wait until this week before Thanksgiving to start putting Thanksgiving stuff out. Right?
Right.
They didn't wait till December 1st after Black Friday to start putting Christmas stuff out. Man, they've been having that stuff in the store. You go to Walmart or something, and they're clearing out aisles for Christmas decorations in September because they're not waiting for everybody else. They're not waiting for Best Buy to start putting Christmas deals up. They're not waiting for, Target. They're not waiting for all these other big players to get into the market. Walmart's like, look, I'm trying to catch the market from the beginning. I'm not waiting for the trend of Christmas to go, and then I'll get in and start putting Christmas stuff out once people are already in the mood to buy Christmas stuff. Walmart says, I'm going to make people in the mood to buy Christmas stuff. that's kind of what we want to do in the market. We're not looking for, waiting until everybody else is already in the market and now let's get in. Man, it's too late. You already missed the move. You need to be waiting on the next trend now. We want to get in when the trend is ready. We want to get in when the trend starts. And so when we look at this, we're not looking at trying to get into something that is already going. We're looking to find the turnaround. And in order to do that, we have to look at tried and true zones that have been proven for even years. So all right, everybody, so there you have it. Forex fashion. We're learning that every new trend is not really a new trend, but it's an old trend being revisited. Kind of like all the things we see in today's fashion. So when we're trading in the markets, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Don't try to find some new place and some new thing that's going to... Just go mark your charts and go off of those levels that have been tried and true for so long. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Do what the banks do. Use their levels. They set them there. Let's use them so we can trade with the banks instead of trading against the banks. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. I hope you got something else out of it. Next week we'll go a little bit deeper into it and actually show you how we can find a trade setup from these fashion Forex fashion levels that we talked about. Now I want to just appreciate you one more time for all the subs. We're over 8,000. We'll push into that 10,000 mark. And just want to remind you one more time, like, comment, subscribe on this video. And we'll see you next week. Go visit our updated website. It's got a ton of content on there. TradeAndGetPaid.com. Go and check out the website. It'll have options to have one-on-one mentoring. It'll also have options for you to be able to see some stuff that's not on YouTube, some private VIP access videos. Go check it out, TradeAndGetPaid.com. I'll see you guys next week for part 2.